Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I'm your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, my name is Mike Piwowarski. I am your co-host from the East Coast. That's the co-host with the most, from the coast with the most, here on The Rundown. 2A News, Conservative Views, and Craig, it's a special day.
Oh, yes, it's Hump Day!
Hump Day.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
Ha! Hump Day. That's right. It's the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend. Once again, what better time than to have the week start to roll downhill? I mean, in a positive way, in terms of the amount of work that you have to do, and start to enjoy the weekend. What better day than Wednesday?
This is it. This is the day where it starts to, when people say, hey, I need you to do this, and you're like, nah, I don't think so. It's Hump Day. That can wait till next week. And which means Tuesday, by the way, because Monday you're still doing the the weekend just ended. I need recovery time.
It's
so
still the
Tuesday's
weekend,
work
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
by the way, the week, which basically means the work week is effectively Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, that's right. That's the full 100% day. Everything
go.
else is.
Excuse me. How is your Hump Day going so far today, sir?
Not too shabby. All good here. Making the transition, heading towards the weekend already. So we'll see how it goes. Looks like I got only have to work half the weekend, so it's going to be pretty good. So.
Well, for you, it's always kind of a little bit of a work weekend because you do the radio show. So
yeah, the radio show in the afternoon. Got some TV stuff doing in the morning. So
it's
nice. It's going to be a long day. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I always say this, and I really do honestly mean this. What I do, I enjoy doing. So while it is work, I don't necessarily dread it. I don't dread working because I enjoy what I do.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, I got Saturday some TV stuff with some aviation related stuff, right? And we talked about it. Sounds great. And then they tell me, yeah, we need you at the studio at 7:30, and I'm like, I didn't sign up for a morning show, bro. When have you ever seen me on that early before? So it's gonna be an adventure.
It's gonna be one of those days.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Good luck to you, sir. Good luck to you. See, for me, something like that wouldn't matter because I sadly, at this point in my life now, I'm like, I wake up. I will wake up in the morning and I'll be like, I'm gonna stay in bed. And I'll toss and I'll turn and I'll feel like I've been in bed for hours, and I'll wake up and I'll look at the clock and it's 6:30 in the morning.
No, that's 6:00 this morning, sitting on the edge of the bed, just waiting. Body's up before the brain is. It's like, let's go. Come on, catch up. Yep.
Sometimes it just be like that. Well, hey, folks, it's talking about being like that. You should be. I'm pretty sure that you've already subscribed, that you've already liked and shared the program. I'm sure that you have, but I'm going to ask you to do it again if you haven't. Make sure that you let your friends know The Rundown is the place to get your news. It's the place to talk about gun stuff. It is the place where the conversations are taking place. So do me a favor, like, share, subscribe. Let your folks and friends know that you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, OpsLens, or they can partake via the audio podcast, via wherever you get your podcast. But however you partake, please partake.
Yeah. Hey, you can always join us here live in the studio audience, right?
There you go. Oh, we'll need to add some sound in for a studio audience. Add in studio audience laughter.
Yeah, I like the first couple of years of the radio show on Arms Room Radio, we used to do that. We used to say, listen, the crowd's looking good here, got the studio audience, and we'd get requests weekly for how do I join the studio audience? And it was like, we just got to give that up, folks. People think it's too real.
I know people
don't get a studio audience at the radio show. So.
I can totally see that happening. All right, well, hey, let's go ahead and get into today's news. More drama out of Mar-a-Lago. That's right. There's still stuff. Still, the raid of the home of former President Donald Trump is still in the news. And the most recent piece of news, or bit of info slash news, has to do with his passports. For some reason, now if you had a chance to watch any of the news or read any of the news when they announced or they actually released the search warrant. Specifically, what it said is there were certain documents, government documents or White House documents that were created from the time he took office until the present day. And it said that they could search anywhere, pretty much, at Mar-a-Lago in order to find those documents, in order to take those documents. But the interesting thing that was not included were his passports, were not included in the search warrant. So, Mike, why did they take off with his passports?
Because they could. Because they could, make him feel uncomfortable. Because they could, violate his rights. Because they were bullies and they had the opportunity to do so, and they did. They knew what they were doing. Craig, they took 3 passports. 2 of them as expired ones, and one his current diplomatic passport. So he's got a diplomatic passport he travels on, when doing, U.S. related missions, right? But they took him. Sounds a little strange to me, doesn't it? We're going to take known personal documents from you, and we're going to take those in to put them into evidence.
Well, and I'm quite sure those were not the only personal documents that they took. What's interesting is when the president put out that they took his passports and he wanted them back. Now, normally the FBI will not respond to something like that. They probably would have just given them back, but they were like, they conducted the search and did everything legal and followed the warrant, and then they returned the material that they weren't supposed to take. Well, here's the hint. If you weren't supposed to take it, then you didn't follow the warrant, did you?
Yeah. No, they didn't. Again, that's what we know, right? We know that none of this has been by the book. This has all been, via partisan politics.
Right. And here's the thing: if you're going to go after a former president, if you're going to raid the home of a former president, you better dot all the I's, cross all the T's. And I've had people who I have argued with tell me, well, they must have done all that because they're the FBI. And I'm like, yeah, that just like they did in the case of the guy who falsified documents, just like they did when they knew that the Steele dossier was fake. Just like they did when they refused to acknowledge that the Russian spy, who, by the way, Russian spy was the source of the Steele dossier, paid for by the Clintons, by the Clinton campaign, But yet and still, that dossier was proof of Trump-Russia collusion, even though it was clearly Clinton-Russia collusion. But I digress, right? That FBI are the ones that we're supposed to trust in this particular case. No, it sounds like they blew it.
The FBI has been a partisan, item, for many terms now, presidential terms. Let's just say that. You go in there and you'll see some presidents go in and set it straight and make it right, and then all of a sudden the next one comes in and again it becomes his tool. He's a henchman.
Well, here's what I will say, and I don't know that it's as much about partisanship as it is about they don't like being questioned. They are an entity, a political party unto themselves. I believe there are members of the swamp who collude with them who are on the right and on the left. I believe there are more of them on the left, but I do believe that they are protectors of the swamp, shall we say?
Well, sure, because protecting their jobs, and they are unwilling to let go of their jobs. Nobody wants to. Right. You're talking about people that are making, mid 6-figure salaries, or low mid $200,000-$300,000 a year in there. They're not. These are not people that are just get a barely attainable wage. These people that don't want to let go of the perks of the swamp.
Right.
Say that.
Yeah, no, it is very frustrating to see because we need a justice system that actually believes in blind justice, that actually believes in holding all people accountable. Yeah. But unfortunately, right now, it appears that these agencies are headed by individuals who have it in for our former president. And I'm like this: if you got something, if there is a time in which you want to maintain any credibility as a Federal Bureau of Investigation, if you got something, you better put it on the table, because right now y'all are looking shady.
Yeah, listen, and the I don't know whether it's hit major news outlets yet or not. The word from the Trump camp lawyers, right? And if you've seen this post, it's come out a couple of times in the past week, is that when all of this was going on, when they first started doing these documents, when they first started doing these January 6th hearings, they had the conversation here within the past 2 months or so, when they were doing the last round of documents from Mar-a-Lago, was what is it going to take for you to leave him alone, to leave the former president alone with this nonsense? And they said he needs to announce he's not running in 2024. So it's very clear that this is all about trying to intimidate him about being a candidate this time.
And the thing is, that's the worst thing to do. Trying to intimidate Donald Trump is not going to work unless you. Well, the only way it works is if you actually had something.
Yeah.
And they don't.
You might as well be shooting cans of spinach at Popeye, That's what this does to him,
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that is the best line ever. That is exactly when I think about what this raid on his home has done. It's exactly that. It's like shooting cans of spinach at Popeye.
Yep.
Yeah, no, bad idea, folks. Bad idea, and you will pay the price. Just so y'all know, you will pay the price. All right. Speaking of paying the price, what? At the polls. At the polls. Yes, at the polls. And speaking of paying the price, Liz Cheney is out. That's right. The primary. She didn't just lose in her election. She lost in the primary, meaning she lost to another Republican. Right now, Mike, I will just say this. Liz Cheney, I do definitely believe, she is a conservative. She's more of a neocon conservative, much like her father was. But what I will say is this, and the reason why I believe that despite where she stands on most issues, because I think you and I probably agree with her on 90 to 95% of issues, the fact is this, is that it's because of her and other Republicans and other anti-Trumpers that we now have as president. We have Joe Biden as president. It's the reason why we now have Democrats in control of the Senate, and it's thanks to Republicans like Liz Cheney, who made it okay for Republicans not to support the nominee. And so as a result, instead of orange man with mean tweets, right, and a good economy, and a secure southern border, and criminals in jail, we have Joe Biden and the United States as it currently exists.
TDS, right? Trump derangement syndrome, and she's got it, and she's got it bad, and her pops has got it bad also. It's horrible to see, what something like that. And we all know somebody. We all know, a friend or two that you'll sit and have a regular conversation with, and Trump's name will come up, and they'll go nuts, and you're just like, and and like you said, 95% conservative views agree with you sitting across from the table with them. But something about Trump touched them when he was a little child or something like that. They go that kind of crazy when it comes to President Trump, and that's what she is. And for those that that have it, we all see it. We all see your weird rage for this guy for some reason, and we just feel like, oh, bless your heart,
Well, and I feel qualified to say this because as I brought up many times on the show, I did not support Donald Trump when he ran in 2016 because I didn't feel like he would govern as a conservative because, 18 months before he decided to run for president, he was a New York liberal. Having said that, I wholly admit that I was wrong, and he governed probably more conservatively than any other president in my lifetime. Now, I've never really been a big fan of his the way in which he talked to many people or about many people. There are many of the ways in which he's conducted himself that I wasn't a big fan of. But having said that, I'm like, look, I have to weigh What did his policies do for the country? Was the country better off or worse off as a result of his policies? And any objective person could look at it and say the country was better off. And all you had to do was compare him to Joe Biden and realize Joe Biden, number one, personally was just not all there. Intellectually, mentally was not all there. But then you knew that the policies that he wanted to put in place were going to do exactly what they've done to this country. I think the only way in which the thing that I didn't anticipate was that he would make things go so bad so fast.
Yeah. This was a nosedive for sure, right? That absolutely took out the country. But it's good to see Liz out. Craig, remember there were 10 of these Republicans that decided they were going to vote to impeach the former president. 4 decided they were done. They weren't running again. 4 have now been defeated. The other 2 are from California and Washington State. And Craig, they only have passed their primaries, I guess, because of the way your primary system works out there, where it's not party specific. It's like a top dog kind of thing. How do your primaries work out there?
Well, basically it's a top 2. So whoever the top 2 vote getters are. So if there had been another Republican in the race, and Kevin McCarthy went out of his way to make sure that David Valadao won, because he's a California Republican and he wanted to maintain and hold on to that seat, and he wasn't sure that another Republican could win that seat. I know people who live in the district. I know people who they are very, very frustrated and angry. And what I've explained to them is, look, he's in the general. I get it. Let him get reelected, and then just start now recruiting for, identifying the candidate that's going to replace him in 2024 when Donald Trump is running. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts that you get the right Republican, Donald Trump will come out into that district and campaign for that candidate and put David Valadao out on his ass.
Yeah, I saw a piece of news today or yesterday that said, it showed a little analysis. If those 2 people had been subject to a standard, kind of primary system like we have in the rest of the country,
right,
they would have lost as well.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly what would have happened. But in this particular case, though, I think what really happened was, and here's the thing, you're right, he would have lost, but I think the concern that McCarthy had was that he didn't have another Republican who could win against the Democrats in that seat.
Right.
But the funny part is you look at the seat's heavily Latino, and there are a lot of things that Valadao supported that I think that even his constituents are going to have a hard time with. And by the way, he may not even win the general election, just so you know. He may wind up out on his butt here come the fall when a Democrat ousts him.
There's still a shot that these 2 don't get in. Yeah.
Yes. And I don't know, based on the polling that I'm seeing, I don't even know that these 2 seats are even going to need, I don't even know that they need to hold on to these 2 seats to once again take control of the House.
Right.
But I don't know. I just think that once again, it's not about, here's the thing. It's one thing to dislike Donald Trump. It's another thing to help elect Joe Biden and to help Democrats take control of the Senate because you don't like Donald Trump.
Yep.
That's why, folks, we don't like them. That's why we want them out.
Yeah. No, exactly right. Yeah, it's there's many things. We talk about it in the 2A community too, right, Craig? With you get people that say, "Oh, Donald Trump was no friend of the 2A, the Second Amendment." You're like, "Oh, really? So Hillary in place for 4 years would have been better for you?"
Yes.
You're like, well, that's not what I meant. Well, that's exactly what you mean. That's,
right.
That was your option. Okay. So,
Yeah. No, 100%, 100%. I mean, I believe in being honest about where candidates are, about where elected officials are, and honest about their record. But in the end, when it comes down to election time, if your vote counts, and sadly in California, it's a hard thing because oftentimes as a conservative, your vote really doesn't count that much because there's not enough of us to outvote the millions of Democrats that are here. But having said that, look, when you're in in particular, if you're in a swing state and your vote counts, your job is not to elect the perfect candidate; it's to elect the best candidate. The one who's going to do the best for our country. And if you believed for a second that was Joe Biden, then you're an idiot.
Yep. Oh, agreed.
And
Yeah.
Liz Cheney was an idiot and unqualified to serve in public office.
Yep.
Mike, you shared with us this next story, the self-defense selfie. This one I thought was phenomenal. I thought this was a great story out of Texas. You want to go ahead and tell the folks about this one?
Yeah, there's a small police department down there. I don't recall the name of it. We'll pull it up here, I'm sure, when we take a look at the article. Hey, some cops down there doing their job, and they were pulling people over that were doing unsafe acts, whether speeding or whatever else, and they pulled over this one vehicle, and lo and behold, who was inside but the patron saint of Kenosha himself, Kyle Rittenhouse, was in the vehicle, and so they checked him out. He had no warrants, no nothing like that. So the cop got a selfie with him, and he made it like a little comment to his friends, like, "Hey, listen, if we're out here, pulling people over, being proactive and making sure people are safe, sometimes you get to meet people that have been in, had their, little bit of fame, right?" And he gets to meet Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, so they posted up. They posted up on the department website there. Hold on, so we'll go back up. What is it? It's Thrall Police Department, right? Thrall, is that what it says?
Yes, Thrall.
Thrall Police Department. Okay. So they added up the photo, and it says, he wrote on there, "Listen, I got to meet Kyle Rittenhouse." Oh, and that started the hate, Craig. That started the hate. People are like, "Oh, that's not what cops should be doing. That's disrespectful. And how could you do that with the killer?" and all of that. And they were going after the agency. And finally, the chief came on and said, "Listen, I don't know about you, but he was charged. He was arrested. He went to court and was found not guilty." You know what that means? He was not guilty. All right. It means he's a free man, the same as everybody else. He was found to be not guilty. He committed no crime. So if we're going to take a picture with him because, he's got some notoriety and fame, and that's what you do with people that are famous, right? You get your picture with them.
Well, exactly. Honestly, this was the stupidest thing to get upset and pissed about, because here's the thing. In some people's minds and in the media's mind, it did not matter that he was actually innocent, that everything that he did was fully and wholly within the law. They don't care. They had already convicted him. He was already guilty. He was already a murderer in their eyes. And in their eyes right now, he's a murderer walking free. Once again, despite the fact that he broke no laws, despite the fact that he clearly was defending himself. In their eyes, the victim, the child molester, the robber, yeah, those guys are the victims, not the actual person who actually decided to stand up for himself. And Mike, that's just the whole thing about the left and the media, period, is that those people who are actually victims are not the victims in their eyes. In their eyes, the true victims are the criminals, the people who are preying on the innocent.
That's right.
And preying on the rest of the citizenry. And that's who they choose to protect and defend. And that's the reason why I keep saying, look, I don't know why y'all, that's who the Democratic Party, and when I say the Democratic Party, I will be fair. There are many, I won't say most, but I will say many in the Democratic Party who agree with us on that. The problem is that they are too scared in their own party because they don't want to lose their own power, their own position, but they're too scared to say so.
They scared.
And by the way, being a coward is not something that makes me want you to lead me. I don't want you to represent me if you are a coward. Because ultimately, you take an oath to uphold the Constitution. If you're not willing to stand up and do that, then you need to get out of here. Out of here.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So this was nice to see. This is nice to see. The police administration come to the defense, understanding the rule of law, and explaining to the public, hey, here's the rule of law we live under. If you don't like it, perhaps you should try moving further south.
Yes, you do not have to like it for it to be so.
Exactly. Anyway, there you go.
Moving right along. All right, this story actually very, very much warmed my heart. That during the pandemic, healthcare workers, probably more than anyone else, put themselves on the front line in terms of risking themselves when we knew nothing. We knew very little about COVID-19 and about how it was transmitted and how infectious it was and how deadly it would be. Healthcare workers were showing up, working long hours helping people. Helping people get past COVID, helping people in many cases, helping ease their pain as they would eventually pass. They were heroes. There were stories of people cheering them as they would leave work, and as the new shift would come on, people would cheer for them. And then we got the vaccine, and then healthcare workers, many of which, by the way, most of which had already been exposed to COVID, who had already had COVID, and thus had developed an immunity, they were then required to get a vaccine. Otherwise, they were going to lose their jobs. And many decided that no, they were not willing to get the vaccine, and they wound up getting fired as a result of it. The heroes, they now became the scapegoats for many in the medical community and many politicians. Well, they have thus been redeemed, and this is once again a righteous payback. Healthcare workers who were fired because of the vaccine mandate have been awarded $10 million in a settlement, right? It says here some plaintiffs will be eligible for $45,000 if they were fired as a result of the vaccine mandate. Now, Mike, the craziest thing about all of this was that people lost their jobs at a time when we had a healthcare worker shortage. They were firing people. They were complaining we don't have enough healthcare workers, and yet they were firing people who already had been exposed to COVID, already had gone through all that, and people were heroes and they fired them.
Yeah, it was about power, Craig. Right? We know that it wasn't about health. We know that it wasn't about the healthcare of the people or the healthcare workers. It was about the power of the administrators and the local politicians over these people. You can't tell me no. I am currently the emperor of this city or of this hospital, and I am going to give you this mandate. If you don't do it, I'm going to fire you. We saw it. I had it happen locally here in Florida with a couple of fire chiefs fired because they refused to make their people get these shots, and luckily had the governor here step in and try and find some relief with them. This is great. This is the first one. It's the first major one that's gone through with this hospital system, and you're going to see this now be used as precedent around the country, and people are going to be getting some jacked payback for what's going on here. So for the actually now unconstitutional, unlawful terminations of these individuals.
Right. Once again, I still go back to every time you've heard like with the Dobbs decision, everyone talking about women, my body, my choice, my body, my choice. You can't tell me what to do with my body. Well, guess what? Yep. Same thing is true of the vaccine. You can't make me take a vaccine. I am, by the way, I got vaccinated. I didn't do any of the boosters. But the point is that it should always be someone's choice. And I know a lot of people are like, but Trump invented the vaccine. Well, yeah, but Trump never mandated it. And he never said it would be mandated. He just wanted to give people the opportunity if they wanted to take it.
Exactly right. I remember it was designed for those that were in the high risk category. That's what it was for. So we could protect them and get, like they said, flatten that curve. Get rid of all those people on those ventilators. Remember?
Right.
That's what it was designed for. It wasn't designed to, it's still going on now. What 5-year-olds are now approved to get this vaccine?
Well, yeah, under 5-year-olds. I'm like
medical research.
Yeah. It's the funniest thing
medical
because
research. This vaccine is not the same kind of vaccine you get for measles, mumps, rubella, and polio. Those were proven and tested over 20 years or so. This is still something in the experimental stage, and like I said, was approved for those in the high risk category.
Right. And by the way, they do it now knowingly. They know that it doesn't keep you from getting it, but it does. The idea is it's supposed to lessen the effect of the symptoms. And what I'm having a hard time understanding.
When it first came out, it was supposed to keep you from getting it, remember?
Right. Well, and I think for the early, yes, that was what it was supposed to do. That's what they said it did. Yeah. It seemed to work for the initial and for Delta. That seemed to be the case, but I think after Delta, it seemed like it didn't have that effect anymore. It seemed like the effectiveness in that area was no longer there.
Yeah. And listen, all the untruths, right? again, being in the aviation industry, it was all the air crews and pilots were told, you get the vaccine, you don't have to wear the mask anymore. And then as soon as that happened, they're like, yeah,
put your mask on.
You have to wear it.
We lied.
You still have to wear it.
Put your mask on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that just the number of lies that have been told about this whole thing, and like I said, it's just nice to see. It's nice to see these folks get some remuneration for the assault on their rights.
Yeah, and listen, it's not. They haven't been made whole either. I mean, you'll see more of this. You've got a healthcare worker, and if you're talking about a registered nurse, that's what they make in 6 months. So, and they've been out of work for up to 2 years now. So it's a little bit. It'll help heal the wound, but that's not curing the problem. There's going to be a lot more of this to come.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. All right, as we move on to today's parting shots, we've got some doozies for you folks. This one is in honor of Liz Cheney, as she is now going to be looking for a new job. This is her exit from Congress.
She got the boot.
And this next one is along the same lines. And I have to say, once again, I love that this one as well. By the way, the last one had you had Liz Cheney flying through the air with the door of Congress open, a boot. It looked like she had definitely been booted out. In this case, it says Liz Cheney's pronouns are done/gone. Too soon?
Yep. I saw one earlier today, Greg. It said her pronouns were was, were. Yeah,
were.
So it was nice. Yeah.
Well, rumor has it, and CNN is basically saying that she's talking about running for president.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Please. Oh, please, God, yes. Please. Oh, please, dear Lord. Please let Liz Cheney run against Donald Trump. And please save all the starving pygmies down there in New Guinea. Yes.
Well, here's the thing. Now, if she runs as a Republican, she'll get her hat handed to her. My concern is that if she runs as an independent, there will be enough Trump haters that will vote for her that it may take away from Donald Trump's ability to be able to. Well, no, it depends on who he's running against. I think he's going to trash whoever he runs against. But I would hate to see like what happened with Ross Perot, because honestly, the only reason George Bush the first lost that presidency, I believe, was because of Ross Perot.
No, he did. Ross Perot took a bunch of conservative votes away, and that's
right.
That's clear. But she's not a legitimate candidate. And besides, Donald Trump controls the independent vote as well. So I'm not too concerned about that.
That is a sound point, and which, by the way, goes back to President Trump. When you think about it, and we talked about this a little earlier, when you look at what happened, when you look at the whole Mar-a-Lago thing, the raid by the FBI and the Democrats' attempt to use that to keep him from running for president, I think this is probably exactly what it's going to wind up doing. You want to describe this one for the folks who are just listening in?
So old school Bugs Bunny style cartoons where the Democrat Party has held a shotgun up to President Trump. He has stuck his finger in the end in the back of the shotgun and has blown it out in the Democrat's face.
And that's pretty much how it is going to go down. Like I said, unless somehow they got something special, they found something, or even if they found something, if they don't have as the foundation something solid, it's going to be it's going to completely and utterly be their destruction.
I keep coming back to, let me see if I can find it real quick, Craig. This tweet that I saw a couple days ago after the raid, it says, I was strongly considering voting for DeSantis in the primary if he ran. But this morning, after reading this BS, I will crawl over broken glass to vote for Trump. And I don't care if they turn up video of him shooting someone in the face on Fifth Avenue. So that's the outrage that supporters, that run-of-the-mill conservatives that were willing to look at the next candidate, whether it be DeSantis or not, have now said, nope, they just gave Trump power pills and I'm on his team. So.
And FYI, these are the same people who elected Donald Trump in the first place, because it was. I honestly believe that a huge percentage of the vote for Donald Trump in 2016 was less a vote for Trump and more a vote against Hillary. And now it's not just against Hillary; it's against the Democratic Party. Period.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're right. The swamp as a whole, completely and utterly against them. And y'all brought this on yourselves, just so you know.
Yeah. Yeah, this was some swampy of the swampest moves.
Right.
that they
Oh yeah,
made.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So hey, how about a quick shout out to our sponsors?
Let's say hey to our good friends, of course, at the California Republican Assembly and U.S. Combat Gear.com.
That's right, folks. You know where they are. You know where the links to their website are. It's in the description of this program. Go there, check them out, spend some money with them, and tell them that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. That's going to be it for this episode of The Rundown. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking, sharing, and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be seeing you tomorrow on Thirsty Thursday. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you then.